and we are going to do a little fall harb walk. As you can see, there's still frost in the ground here, so we're working against the grain. Seasons are declining, and we're at that place where we're trying to find our last few harvests. One of my favorite herbs is right under our feet, and that is yarrow. Now it's named Achillea milfoilium. You can tell by milfoil means thousands of little leaves. It's everywhere. We see this one all through the battlefields where Achilles, the Greek warrior, would fight his battles. Now the reason why was because he was invincible and his warriors were not, and he kept losing warriors. So he asked the gods, give me a plant to heal my warriors and put it on every battlefield that we fight on so that we can be healed and I can have an invincible army. And so the gods gave him yarrow. And now yarrow has many different healing properties. One of the main benefits of yarrow is actually that it helps stop bleeding. So if we have a cut or a scrape or a bleeding nose, we can roll yarrow up and we can stick it right up our nose. And it'll help stop the blood. I know, that's weird looking. Horsetail, that looks like a pot scrub, hey? Say this was my dirty dish. I could scrub my pot with this. In fact, it has saponin groups, which are a soap-like compound that helps emulsify fats. I could use this, get it all wet, and use that as a scrub brush. Now, it has also got a high amount of silica. And what we know about silica is that it's really good for our hair, our skin, and our nails. So it also helps build stronger bone density. So we'll use this as a tea to help work with that. This is one of the oldest plants that we know of. Its roots go way deep down, and it's really different from most of the plants in the sense that it produces a separate flower first thing in the spring than this plant here. It has a really interesting looking flower head that looks like a paintbrush and has tons and tons of pollen. This is a toxic plant right here. This is snowberry or ghostberry. It's the other name for it. And the natives used to think of this as for the dead spirits. Definitely these berries are toxic, although to little children, they may look like fun eating because we were used to seeing berries as something we could eat. So stay away from these ones. And what's interesting is that they're some of the last berries that we see in the season. So they kind of almost have the doctrinal signature of like that dead berry at the end of the season. After Halloween, we still have our ghost berries. Wild lettuce. This is where our original lettuce came from. And all lettuce contains opiates, which help relax the system. So in fact, part of the reason why they put lettuce in a sandwich is because it slows down the digestion and relaxes the system and kind of makes you feel fuller. That, like, especially that iceberg lettuce, it's got the highest level of opiates in it versus like romaine. This is actually a cherry tree. This is great for a cough. Dry cough, so a dry hack, we'll use the bark of it. And usually if we're going to do that, we're going to try and take off one of the branches or just make a strip down there. If we wring the whole thing, then we're going to kill the tree. So, Even though it's late fall, we still got a few rose hips. Now these are super high in vitamin C. So you can just harvest them like that, or if you want, what I like to do is I cut them in half, and then I dig out these seeds, like that, pop these little rose hips into my mouth. Cheers! Oh, you really have to try this. This is a lichen. This one's really good for asthma as well as inflammation. You see how it's nice and soft and kind of cooling? Like we had eczema or inflammation, we might be able to rub it on there. But we can also make a tea with it, and we can use it for asthma and congestion. But you see it'll grow on these branches. Oh. dragon skin. Cool. You can tell that you have a healthy forest if you have lots of lichens in it. It's got that really nice, rich, nutmeggy kind of flavor. It's used for circulation. The tool I have here is called a hori. This is one of our best wild harvesting tools. Between this and a pair of clippers, that's all you need. Rather than a shovel, if you use a hori, it's a much smaller blade, so it makes much less impact in the ground. All right, well, this one's plantain. You can see it produces these little seed heads. And if any of you have ever tried psyllium before, psyllium is from the plantain plant, or from a very similar species in the same family. And that's a fiber that we use for inflammation in the gut. Now, this is also quite anti-inflammatory for our skin and for any parts of the body. So you can make plantain as a tea to help for inflamed chest and digestive system, but mostly we're using it for bee stings and bug bites and all those kinds of things. In fact, this is one of the best medicines. If somebody gets stung by a bee, we'll chew it up, make a spit poultice, and stick it right onto that sting. Now, it works best if it's the person themselves. You can also use the other leaves to make a little band-aid. Go around. So this one here is holly. Now you see these spiky little points? The berries of this are quite toxic. Although you can see it's still quite green and will remain this way. What we use here is the bark of this medicine. And it's not one that is used a lot, but was used a lot in old world medicine as basically helpful for diuretic, as well as a tranquilizer and as a laxative. So take the bark and make a little decoction with it, which means a lightly simmered steeped tea. Oh look, there's some Oregon grape. Now this is a very common West Coast herb. It's also an evergreen, just like the holly. It will bite you. You see how bright and yellow that is? This part has a chemical in it called barberini, which is great for the mucous membranes. In fact, we use this one, it's a little gentler than golden seal, but we use it more for children who want to have help antibacterial effect on the mucous membranes. So it'll help clean them up, producing a better quality mucus that'll help move catarrh out. So quite bitter. So even by that bitter taste, we know that it's also going to stimulate the liver and bile production. Now, we know that fur is really flat. That's how we can tell. Now these we could add to our tea for a little lemon scent. Really yummy. That lemony flavor helps open up the respiratory tract too. It helps us breathe better. So it's these young tips here that are the best ones. Right there. So we'll take a little bunch of those for our tea when we get home too. That one is... You got it. Dandelion. So this is a bitter root, which is one of our most potent medicines. One thing I really like to think about is the plants that follow people around are actually the ones that are most medicinal for them. It's blood cleansing and liver cleansing and kidney cleansing. It's like a 1-2-3 punch, i.e. helping pull toxins out of the blood, process them with the liver, and move them out of the body with the kidneys. Yeah, that's a red belted polypore. Now this one is really good for our immune system. So you see how it has thousands of little pores on there? That's called a polypore. And all these polypore mushrooms like this are quite safe, and they have a tonic effect on the body. So now we have a medicine basket full of great medicine in the fall months to help us protect our immune system, build up our lung energy, and just build up our chi and immunity in general. So thanks for joining us, and we hope you get out this fall and pick up some wild herbs. See you next time.